Good evening, everyone. Welcome to your Monday night update. I am Ads from UTG. Welcome to the Monday night update. And look, it's been an interesting weekend. And we don't tend to do updates on the weekend, and we don't, we try and take a little bit of a break from the charts just to, regenerate, recharge the batteries, and be ready for this Monday night update. And, before I start, if you find this content really useful, if you find that it will benefit you, then give us a like, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a great deal. But moving on, this level of supply that we still find ourselves at. So right now, what we observed over the weekend, we observed some pushing into this level of supply. However, we did close back underneath, and we have closed yesterday as well underneath this level too. And we are sitting quite overbought on our indicators, and we've still got that bearish divergence that we spoke about last week as well. So there's some bits and pieces to look at tonight. This level of supply is from, for those who haven't watched this before, January 2018 is this level that we're identifying right now, and this is probably the reason why, or half the reason why, that it's taken so long or taken a little bit more volume to try and push through this, and it's proven to be the most resistive area that we've come up against so far. So that's why BTC is having a little bit of trouble, not to mention that the volume is steadily dropping off as well. Looking at the 4 hour, we'll try and get as far into this as possible. Looking at the 4 hour time frame, there's a number of areas that I want to highlight. So that area that we looked at on the daily in the way of the bearish divergence, we're still seeing that same sort of scenario here on the 4 hour. We've got the first rejection here on the 28th, and then we've got that push into that level to clear out some of the short or some of the sellers there on the 31st of October, only 2 days ago. However, this has formed a bearish divergence not only on our CCI indicator, it's formed that same bearish divergence on the RSI, and of course our homegrown and very accurate steamroller indicator also. Now, I'm going to go into the bull side for just a moment, in the way of, I've been trading supply and demand for quite some time now, and I know that if we hang around a level of demand, or hang around a level of supply for quite some time, the likelihood of us pushing up and through that level increases with time. So if we start accumulating in this area and we start moving sideways for quite some time around this area here, then the likelihood of us moving through the zone and up admittedly gets a little bit more and more likely. So look, I'm reading the TA as it stands right now, and there's a lot of factors to tell me that we should be going down in the way of a steamroller indicator being quite overbought. We've got that massive bearish divergence there on the CCI, and RSI is quite high still, and looking like this daily candle's going to start swinging towards the downside if this same sort of momentum continues. And we've got some areas of liquidity just sitting at that 13k, primarily that 13k even, which is going to be that psychological support for BTC at around that 13k area. So that's going to be the first area that I'd look for on the daily time frame, alongside our 12.8 level of demand, which we have retested once before on the 4 hour time frame also. And that did occur on the 27th of October, so only about a week ago now. One thing I've been seeing thrown around a lot, one thing I've been seeing, can't even speak tonight. One thing I've seen being thrown around a lot, excuse me, on the social medias, is this sort of uptrend, and we've got this ascending structure here along this side. So this usually breaks to the upside. Ooh, I'll put that back on. This usually breaks to the upside if that formation does play out. So what I would be looking for, in the immediate term, we've got that level of that top level of steamroller being quite respected for now. We've got those levels of bearish divergence, and this candle looks like it might start moving down. However, but we'll talk about it anyway. Where we need to come down possibly test this level of uptrend, this uptrend here at about, it would be roughly at around your 13,450, 13,500 area. And that needs to hold. We need to, stay within this channel, get squeezed into a corner, if we're going to look for this movement to the upside, or we're going to look for, subsequent break of this level, possibly a retest and continue down towards our 13K mark, which looks like the most likely scenario if we're looking at a daily or a macro scale time frame where we've got such an overstretched, overbought set of indicators and some large, very large macro bearish divergence forming also. But like I said, if we do hang around this area for quite some time, the likelihood of us continuing to the upside increases. So I'd be just keeping that in mind. So what I want to do for you guys, I want to highlight, in the event of, if we do, get that volume into this market, if that FOMO comes in over the next little while with the US election, bits and pieces like that happen, and we get some more FOMO and retail money moving into this market to push us higher, I want to see where we could possibly go. So what we're going to do, we're going to go over back to where we drew our level of supply in and possibly see where we could end up. So more than likely, it's a little bit hard to draw this on a daily time frame because the candles are so large, and we're currently highlighting one that's very close to, where it would be drawn. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go on the 4 hour. We're going to scroll back, sorry for the scrolling, and possibly see where we'd end up primarily. And the first place that I would probably put it, if we were to move to the upside, would be around here, around that 15.2 area there. So you can see how I quickly drew that in with this candle structure here, and then we've got the retest just to the right hand side of that one there, around 14.8, or around that 15K, 15,000 even actually. That would be the next level I'd be looking for if we do get a confident, and that's a key word, confident break in this level of supply. My personal opinion, I'm looking at the TA. The TA is quite still overbought. It does need to retrace on a higher time frame. However, I am keeping that FOMO mentality, in mind, where this could run to the upside, if we hang around this area for quite some time, and more referring to over the next couple of days, into the end of this week. It looks like we are starting to make movements to the downside, which that would play out nicely to the TA that I'm actually seeing on the chart. However, just keeping all that in mind, because we know BTC can be quite volatile, and FOMO is definitely real within this market. So just keep all that in mind. Looking for the first area, which is around this 13.4, 13.450, 13.5 area. We've got this level of this trend line, running to the upside. However, we could be looking at, the 13K or even the 12.8 level of demand to be retested if we start to move to the downside and confidently give us some pullbacks that we need on the daily, on the macro scale of things. Anyway, moving on now, looking at Ethereum. Ethereum not doing a whole lot, admittedly, and not doing as well as BT has over the last little bit. We did identify this level of resistance here at $400 or 401 for Ethereum, where we had some levels of support resistance flip and a lot of liquidity being rejected and supported off that area. And happy to say, since we have visited this last week, we have reached that area and been rejected off it. So TA playing out very nicely there, alongside our steamroller indicator getting quite to the upside, and dead giveaway in the way of the CCI, where we were topping out on that indicator. And you can look to the left where we were topping out previously, and that'll give you a good idea of where you should be expecting, or where you should be looking the CCI indicator to top out, give you that blow off top, with that wick, and some of these movements here before a movement to the downside. So that's what's happened so far on ETH. We are sitting at a very short-term, very, very short-term level of demand now on Ethereum USD, and looking to see whether or not we're going to continue to the downside, if this is to be trusted, or continue to the upside and possibly retest again for a second time that level of supply. Very short-term levels, 4 hour lower time frame levels, but they are playing out quite nicely so far. And I'd be look, if we're looking at market structure, we could still this could still indicate that we are in a downwards market or downwards movement for ETH, because that's still a lower high there. So still looking for some more structure to be printed over the next couple of days to give us a more valid indication, or even, the course of this evening into tomorrow night's live session, to see if we're going to retest that demand level or retest that level of supply. But a little bit more information is required for now, since we've just had this 4-hour candle happen over the last only half an hour. So looking forward to looking at this tomorrow. A couple of requests that I've had: BNB USD pairs and ADA USDT pair. So that's what we'll have a look at as well. We'll have a look at the daily time frame, although it's not giving us a whole lot of info and there's a lot of wicks. So we'll have a look at the 4-hour for this example. We'll chart it pretty much straight off the bat. So with this, we've got a confident level or confident breakthrough with BNB, and that would tie in very nicely with the macro scale. If I'm looking at the daily time frame, we're looking at the macro scale or even steamroller indicator pointing to the downside, so that would line up quite nicely there. However, on the daily, we've got much bigger zones to look for, and these zones aren't very good because of the market structure and what we're observing with these wicks and stuff like that. So looking at that bounce off this daily area of demand there, it's a bit interesting to see this movement. What I would be expecting, however, is this level of supply to be tested once more, and we could really pair that quite nicely with some levels of resistance there to really gauge the level of liquidity that we've got to the left-hand side and see where we could see a potential retrace come up and possibly test again. So we're looking at this level here, which is $30.09. All right, there's a fair amount of liquidity to the left-hand side, support and resistance flips there, and of course lining up very nicely with our level of supply there too. So if you want to look at BNB, that's the area that I'd be looking at for the immediate term to be tested and see what happens when we get there in the way of respected candles and respected TA. So next one I'll look at is ADA USDT. So ADA USDT, I've been following this admittedly for quite some time now, and it has moved to the upside as expected, and we were looking at this level of resistance there. So what I'll do, I'll draw in the relevant zones for you, and we'll see how we go. So not looking fantastic for ADA currently, and not looking fantastic across all or most alts at the moment. But we are getting some relief from this level of downtrend that it's really started on the 23rd of October. So for quite some time now, and we are getting this push, and we have had a rejection off this level of supply. Very short term, but it is a pivot. So we've got a pivot there, we've got a pivot here, and then another one down the bottom here. So that forms our levels of supply and demand. We've got that pivot there, which is quite nice, and it was respected very recently with a sell-off occurring before our eyes right now. And look, that's really going off the ultimate or the higher scale of things and the macro scale of things, where we've created that high, created a lower low, and then we are continuing to the downside now. So what I'm really looking for on a higher time frame or a macro scale of things for ADA is a push through this level of supply, and then possibly move to the next area or liquidity area to really look for a possible movement to the upside and retest our 11 cent area up the top here. However, there is some structure in place that we need to break through. Of course, this area here, which is 0.09 cents for ADA, we've got rejected once before, that needs to fall before we look for anything higher up. So if we do get rejected here, the next area would be, of course, back down to our 92 cent area there, and not seeing anything beyond that right now. So looking for either this scenario to play out over the next day or so, or we even get some more movement to the upside. You could even draw your Fibonacci between your swing low to swing high on a smaller time frame to gauge if we're going to hold these levels that we're going to form. Now what I'll do, we're on the 30-minute, I'll draw that in for you to really gauge if we're going to hold right up top. So we've got some areas to look for on a shorter time frame scale of things. This would be the 38, the first area of liquidity that I'd look for, and of course 50 and 61, but the 30 is the real one we want to really hold. Looking like a head and shoulders formation on that 30-minute as well, nicely playing out too. So very interesting price action for ADA. Honestly, I do think it would probably come down a little further, and if we don't hold this 50-61 area, then it will be back to our level of demand. The last one that I'll look at, it is getting a little bit long for a Monday night update. The last one I'll look at is the DXY, so surging to the upside, which is nice to see after such a long bout to the downside for quite some time now. But this is a regulated market. These are just ideas and opinions of Team UTG. But we are confidently now moving to the upside. I'm pretty sure this is going to be backed by the election in America, which is occurring over the next couple of days, and that's probably what's pushing this market to the upside. Well, pretty much this is what's pushing to this market to the upside. For now, if we do continue on this trajectory, and we didn't get the pullback that I really wanted for the DXY, but in any case, we are moving up. And the next area would be this 94.6 area. If we surge to the upside, not caring about these indicators and not caring about the overbought condition, the FOMO is real for the DXY. But we are looking towards that 94.6 ultimately for that movement, and possibly a double top if we do get there, and we confidently get there, if we stay this current course. There is some levels, obviously, that we need to look out for in between that. So I'll get rid of some of these areas that are no longer relevant. There's a lot of them. So keep it nice and simple. We've got this swing high to swing low, to gauge our levels. And we are just now passing our 78.6 area on this swing high to swing low. So it'd be interesting to see over the course of this evening when some more volume gets in. It's only a Monday night, so not ridiculous amount of volume's going to come into this, but it would be good to see if we hold and break and close above this 78.6 to really validate our thought towards 88.6 and of course our area of supply. So that's all for our Monday night update. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you think this was valuable, and I'll see you tomorrow night in our live session. Catch you then.